Hi there. My name's Kristina of Ivy Lounge Test Prep, and this is a special message for my high schoolers in the LGBTQ plus community. If that is not you, but let's say you've got a very close friend or a sibling or a cousin, or maybe this is your niece or nephew, or you're the parent and that applies to your own high schooler, then forward this video to them. And if that neither of those apply to you, then you're free to skip this one. I have plenty of other videos for you, but this one is specifically for those people in the LGBTQ plus community. So we need to have some real talk because a lot of my students, if this is you, and myself included, because I am also in this community with you, might be feeling scared right now with all the various changes happening in our country here in the United States. Now, if you are in high school and you are, I don't know where you live, this also might be a trying time because you might not necessarily feel, let's say, safe or supported in the specific town, city, state in which you live. So, what I am hoping to do in this video is, first of all, share a personal story with you and then help you brainstorm right here, right now, some ideas of what you can do to move forward in kind of this chaotic, changing every day, changing every hour climate that we find ourselves in. And a lot of this planning has to do with college. So let me just share my story and maybe it will give you a little bit of a different perspective or a helpful perspective. So I was in high school a while ago. Specifically, I graduated in the year 2000. So I was in high school in the late 90s, graduating in the year 2000. This is before you were born, okay? And I was out to myself and my friends at that time, but not to my parents and not to like the people at the church where our family went. And also, I was living in Texas, okay? And for me, I did not feel like I could truly be myself where I was in Texas. And, mm, I would, of course, try to find my community, try to find like the other women, the other lesbians, whomever, like, because that's how I identified. And I was trying to look for other people I could maybe be friends with or talk to. And as I would go around the city of Dallas, where we lived, see, I had this unfortunate disadvantage, which is people knew who my father was because he, in fact, was a local politician in Dallas. So people would look at me and be like, "Oh, you're Chris Simos's daughter," and I'm like, it's like my plans to go to the queer bookstore, right, and coffee shop were foiled again, right, as I'm like in the Oak Lawn, Cedar Springs area. Um, Okay, so I knew for me, I needed to leave where I was because I could not like operate freely. I could not do what I needed to do to figure out who I was. And I knew that my grades were good, right? I knew I had stuff going for me. And so in my, at the time, like 16-year-old brain, I was like, okay, Kristina, you need to get out of Texas and you're really smart. You've got the grades. You can do this. We can get ourselves, like for me, it was Eastern Seaboard. I wanted to go to the Northeast, right? So I made it my job. Okay, so like junior year, I was the crazy who was taking 8 AP classes and averaging like a 99 in them. Yes, yes, yes. You could call this just, like, oh, I was a great student. I had a reason why I needed to be like as perfect as possible student because I needed the grades to get into a place that could take me 2,000 miles away from where I felt like I could not be myself. Okay. That was me. You might not feel that way. But for me, I really wanted to go to Brown. That was like the dream. And if not Brown, somewhere in like Massachusetts, right? Why not? Um, that was the dream. So I doubled down. So again, a gazillion APs, really worked hard, studied for all the tests. I had top grades. I also was really good at math and I did math competition. So that was a thing going for me. And I knocked it out of the park with standardized testing. So for me at that time, like the SAT was like more popular back then, in my school and in more of the schools that I was applying to. So it was the SAT. And at the time, we had to do things called subject tests and like do three of them. So it was like, okay, cool, chemistry, math level 2C, and writing. We don't have those anymore. Be happy, right? But I was like studying for those, all self study, acing those because I knew that I needed every shot to get out. Okay. And so what happened? So there's good news to this, right? So I was able to get into Brown. And I actually got in early. And I even applied to MIT because I was really good at math and science. And I applied early action. I actually got into both of those schools. So before we like left to go on a trip for holiday break, like winter break, I already knew that I got into Brown early decision, which of course is binding. So like I had like a stack of, half done but incomplete applications to a bunch of other colleges on the Eastern Seaboard. And I left them at home because I was like, it's done. I'm in. I am moving far away from here. Okay. So that was what I did. Okay. I used the fact that college is in fact a very real way, like applying to a college, to change your location, change geography. And I was able to go to Brown. I made lifelong friends. I found my communities, and I've, living on the Eastern Seaboard ever since. So I'm in the New York City area. Technically, right now, I live in Jersey, but I can like see Manhattan basically from my house. This is a happy ending of what can happen if you need to leave where you are. So, yes, you're going to say that was like 25 years ago. Things are a bit different. Yeah, you're right. Apples and oranges, things are different now. So, a couple things I want to just point out. Like, I'm pretty straight passing. I mean, there's another term for that. We call it femme invisibility, but whatever. Like, so did I feel physically unsafe walking the streets of Dallas, Texas? No. So it wasn't necessarily a safety issue for me, but it was I cannot be who I am here. I can't find the people. People know who I am. They know my family. I must leave. Now let's talk right now. Maybe you are trans, maybe you're non-binary, maybe whatever. You don't want to define yourself, but you're not like cisgendered heterosexual. Cool. But maybe you don't feel like where you are is safe. Maybe you're having trouble in your town, city, state, accessing medical care that you need, or just feeling safe, like you're not going to be bullied, right? Or just finding people who are like-minded and like you that you can be friends with, right? So if I were in your position now, seeing what we know in the US, what's going on politically, seeing how rules and laws are changing like every day, it seems. Um, Here is what I would probably do. Because like there's so many things not in our control, but here's what is in your control. I would, for starters, take my grades seriously. Like I would be signing up for like the most ambitious like academic classes in school that I could. I would be taking my studies seriously because literally it can be your ticket to like a different geography, okay? Different region of the country, different country, okay? A lot of schools these days are test optional. I would still, if it were me, I would still take a test. Now, the beauty is unlike when I was your age, like right now, colleges don't care if you do the SAT or the ACT. Like it's the same to them. It's just whichever one shows off your strengths better. Okay. In fact, if you're confused about that, I even have like a free quiz for it on my website, ivyloungetestprep.com. I also have like a free training, like a free like 1 hour video called your fail proof college prep plan. It kind of like walks you through like which how to figure out which test and how to figure out what your target score should be and how to then like proceed with studying. I'll make sure there's links below, but like those things are free. So you can do that. Um, so I would like take a test, even if many schools are test optional, because you do not want to limit your choices, right? And I would study for them, even if you have to study on your own. Like, even if don't have the funds to say, like, hire a private tutor or say work with me one on one, there are free resources. There are many free resources. I mean, I have a blog and this YouTube channel. So, like, all of that, those are like free things for you, right? I would study, I would get like the highest score that I could. I would keep up with all of my extracurriculars and interests and the things you're passionate about in this world. And I would like make sure that I stay true to myself and I just, like if sports is your thing, go all in. If you're a musical theater person, awesome, explore that. If you really like learning about veterinary care and like saving the turtles in the pond, like great, go ahead and like double down on the things that interest you. Okay. And also, I would be looking at my college list a little bit more critically than maybe some of my classmates. Okay. So, what does that mean? That means I would be looking perhaps for states that have laws that protect and support me. Often, that might mean bluer states than where you might live. I would check to see, again, if you would have access to the type of medical care you might need in said state of the college you're thinking about. I would look for other supports in place. And I would also think of like, okay, what type of cities, states, schools might have more people like me that I can be friends with and find my tribe, find my community. Now, here's where it gets a little tricky. Okay. So the developments just in the last like couple weeks, it seems like anything that rings of DEI is going to get punished by the federal government. I don't know what's going to happen. Again, like I'm in this with you, okay? I can't predict the future. But it appears that, you know, there might be clubs, there might be things that you would look forward to in a college or a university that maybe now, again, don't know what's going to happen today or next week. Maybe you go to your dream college's website to like look and like there's no like LGBTQ plus organization or at least not on the website. Like maybe students find each other and they meet, but maybe because so many rules are changing, it might not be able to be funded by the school or supported by the school anymore, if you catch my drift. My hunch is that this would definitely be the case with like public colleges and universities, because those definitely get a lot of federal funding. But also, even I was thinking, it's like, okay, so what would I do? I would be like, I'd try to go to a private like college or university. But here's the thing, even private colleges and universities, many of them also get grants, get funding from the federal government. And some of the bigger universities with, say, bigger endowments, some of them might not want to make enemies with anyone high up in the government, by, having DEI related groups or activities, because I don't think they would want their funding cut for, say, research or whatever they might still get funding for. So might not be affected as much, but I think might still be affected. Okay. Um, Again, that doesn't mean you can't find your people. You can still visit colleges. And what I would probably do if I were you is talk to some actual students, not the admission staff taking you on tour. And I would ask, like, what's the political climate like here on this campus? And I would also look, like, are there people who maybe seem like me? I think if you were to talk to a fellow student and you were kind of like to gauge what the political environment, the political climate, like how diverse is this place? How inclusive and accepting is this place? You might get some straighter answers. So that is a thing is I would talk to students, and if you don't see the clubs and the organizations that you want to see on the websites anymore, if that were to happen, I would not fret. I think people on campus will definitely figure out ways to gather and congregate and hang out and learn what they want to learn together, even if it's not funded by a university. So, okay, we mentioned geography. We mentioned maybe certain states that perhaps have laws that protect and support you. That usually is like West Coast and Eastern Seaboard, more or less, right? Like Northeast, West Coast, more or less. We mentioned maybe air private university over public. If it were me, I might consider a smaller liberal arts college, a smaller place that's private, that maybe relies less on the government for funding. Again, maybe they still do rely some. I don't know, but they might not be as much of a target. I don't know. This is all guess, right? I'm figuring this out with you. Another thing that I might consider, and this has been an interesting trend. So, uh, lately, like the past like 2, 3 years, okay, I've had a lot of my one-on-one students who come work with me. And our first session that we do is called an Ace the Test game plan. And in it, I'm like figuring out, like, okay, where is this person wanting to go to school? What are the testing requirements for those schools? What are the target scores and the basically how high of a score does it need to be? And I help them determine the test and all that stuff. Okay. So in this first meeting that we have, a lot of the students that I have had have come to me with, yeah, a bunch of American universities, but also there have been a lot of international universities, like English speaking places like Scotland, England, Ireland, Canada, but outside the US, right? And then I look up, okay, so if you're a US student applying to those places, then what's the testing requirement? Sometimes it's a minimum, not like a range. And we look it up. And a lot of my students have, applied to many places outside of the US and gotten in. And whether they go or not is up to them. But hey, and so I'm bringing that up as a possible option. Should that appeal to you? Is maybe you venture outside the United States for college, if that's something that sounds fun and maybe would provide a sense of like ease and safety for you. Speaking of, I literally just recorded a video like last week, and it was about, like 8 top Canadian universities and what those testing requirements are for like the SAT and ACT. So, you'll definitely want to check that one out. But in the meantime, I think that that would be what I would probably do. Okay. I take my grades seriously. I would take a test. I would try to do as well on it as I could, keep up my extracurriculars, and I would look for places where I could get the support, community, and also medical care and protection that I would need. Okay. Again, if you need help with any of this, I'm going to link in the comments and also just in the show notes to some free resources. And in the meantime, honestly, hang in there. Okay. I do think things will get better. Okay. And just from my life, for instance, now I have a great community, right? I'm in like the largest LGBTQ choir in the country, right? I have a wife, I have a family, and I have people who I've surrounded myself with who, I love and who love me. And you can find that too. And if you're not finding it where you are, college is a way that you can like move location and change up your people, change your place, and find that too. So hang in there. Big virtual hug for you. And you got this. Okay. Bye for now.